Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello there and welcome to a sunny, beautiful Thursday, April 12th, and to the program. A lot of news since last we spoke, and obviously I'm going to be giving my 2 cents worth about stories, both local and national, and it'd sure be nice if you guys would, give me the benefit of your thoughts as well. Lynn at pghcitypaper.com will get your thoughts to my eyes, and also you can give me a call, 412-316-3381. A lot of stuff, as I said, to talk about, but something that probably isn't on your radar screen, but I just want to get it off my chest immediately, is the fact that, well, this has to do with cheese, ladies and gentlemen, and I know that's not generally a big topic, but I hail, as you know, from a state that calls itself America's dairy land. And cheese is a big part of the economy of my home state. So cheese and, well, I needn't mention cheese heads, is just a big part of the culture from where I come. So I'm thrilled to see that there is such a thing as National Grilled Cheese Sandwich Day. Yes, I love grilled cheese sandwiches. However, the fact that that day is today is somewhat upsetting to me because, and I'm sure that the people behind National Grilled Cheese Sandwich Day did not intend it to be thus, but the fact is to hold something as important as a National Grilled Cheese Sandwich Day during the Jewish holiday of Passover, in which Jews are not allowed to eat grilled cheese sandwiches, is especially hurtful. And I just want to say, as a Jewish grilled cheese sandwich lover, I feel very left out of the celebration. I feel like a little Jewish kid on Christmas morning with her nose pressed to the glass, watching all the Christian kids open their gifts. And I just think it was a little bit insensitive, in fact, for whoever made this designation to forget that they were excluding Jewish grilled cheese sandwich lovers. There. Oh, well, I feel better already. I mean, I suppose I could melt some cheese between, two slabs of matzah? Ooh, yummy. It'd be okay. It wouldn't be anywhere near a grilled cheese sandwich. So anyway, I just wanted to happy grilled cheese sandwich day to all the rest of you. Never mind me sulking in the corner. Okay, that's the nonsense. And now to us. Wow, I don't know where to start. We can start at Pitt, where already today there have been 3 bomb threats, 3 buildings evacuated. Or we can go with the big national story, which is, of course, the filing of charges against George Zimmerman in the murder of Trayvon Martin. There are so many, I've said this before, I have trouble talking about this case because I can't bear to put myself in that boy's shoes that night when he lost his life. I can't bear it. I can't bear that he's gone. I don't know how his parents, his brother, I don't know how the senselessness of this young kid's death makes me crazy. It does. It makes me nuts. And so I just... And I read something very moving maybe a week or so ago, written by a blogger who said that he was having the same kind of trouble because he says Trayvon has ceased to be a boy, even a dead boy. He's been absconded with, so that his his name now, worn on T-shirts. I mean, he was talking about, and he did it so eloquently, but this sense of, yes, his life is gone. His life is gone. And what little life he enjoyed has been taken up by people, some well-intentioned, some not. And Trayvon and his family have lost all control in many ways of who he was. He's gone from having been a live, young, vital human being with a whole life ahead of him to a what? Fill in the blanks. A symbol, a political football. He has become a tablet upon which we all write our own interpretations, whatever necessity we have to use him and how his life ended. This guy was so brilliant, and why the heck I didn't grab it and keep it and share it with you, I don't know. And I'm sorry for that, because it was provocative in the best kind of way, in that it provoked thought. Can you imagine such a thing? It provoked thought. God. Wow, there is a revolutionary idea. I mean, I think we often think, when we think of provocation now, we just think of provocation of rage, anger. But provoking thought is a wonderful thing. I guess I'm just gonna throw out some general reactions I had. I watched the entire. I was in opposition to, and it started at 6:00, right, when Angela Corey, the special prosecutor appointed by Florida's governor, announced that she would, in fact, be charging Zimmerman with second-degree murder, which I guess has shocked a lot of legal scholars because it's a difficult thing to prove. And then others quickly telling us, well, she picked it because it allows her the leeway of telling the jury, and if you don't think we've quite risen to that proof, then you can still find him guilty of whatever, I guess, reckless homicide, whatever. I don't know what they call it. First, I want to say, thank God. Then I want to parrot what Jesse Jackson Sr. said, the whole world, it took 2 months and the whole world to get an armed man charged with second degree. It shouldn't take the whole world to do that. I would agree. And Reverend Jackson went on to talk about that he ain't going to feel happy until this despicable law, this stand your ground law, the law that I call, shoot any black male in a hoodie if you're having a bad day law, is repealed. Although I doubt that that's going to happen. Excuse me. Gigi! You got me off track here. She says, please tell us you have not gone over to the dark side. Are you wearing a sweater vest? No.
No.
What would you call this? First of all,
Vest.
it's a what?
A leisure vest.
A leisure vest. It's almost like it's very nice, actually. I just got it on sale somewhere. It was really cheap. No, it's not. It is a vest. It is not a sweater. This is actually coat material. It's really meant for outer wear, like on a day like today where you don't want a jacket maybe, but you see, that's what it is. It is, however, yes, it is a vest. It has one little snap right down here, and it has a kind of weird lapels that, sort of stand up. Okay. Now Gigi says, okay, now I'll listen to the show. Thank you very much. Where were we? Okay, so I want to say that when the special prosecutor, Angela Corey, started her, she's a very imposing person. I would say physically she's imposing because she's a big woman. And then the tenor of her voice, the way she speaks slowly, she speaks slowly, deliberatively. I doubt that there was an or any extraneous syllable, although I'd have to go back and see that to be able to maintain that. But she struck me as just extraordinarily in charge. And I was so impressed with sort of the demeanor initially that I wasn't even listening to what she was saying. My head was off into fantasies of if this woman, Angela Corey, had been born 50 years or even 30 years before she was born, she, in all likelihood, would never have had the opportunity to stand where she was standing, to be able to be seen as authoritative, let alone to hold such an authoritative position. So it got me thinking about, this is a woman. And in my lifetime, women were discouraged from even going to law school, for God's sakes, because what's the point? No big firm's going to hire you. You ain't going anywhere. You can't be a judge. I mean, what are the odds of that happening? And here's this, you could tell, smart as a whip, totally self-confident, in charge woman. And so I was into that, into wow, look what happened. Look what happened. It is really amazingly revolutionary what has happened to women in my life. So then as I began to listen more, she started to annoy me because she was speaking in such a slow, deliberative way that I felt like she was talking to kindergartners. It's the kind of, it almost seemed like the way you do speak to, slow people, very carefully not using any really big words, although she did use a word that I didn't know, and I don't know how it's spelled, so I couldn't look it up. And it was some legal word about one. So we have this. Bleh, it was like an arrest warrant. I don't know what was it. Do you know what word I'm talking about? She said it 2 or 3 times. Never heard the word before. Don't believe I've ever seen such a word before. And if anyone can figure out what word I'm talking about, please let me know, because I want to look it up. I forgot to do that. I felt very. I was impressed by her. I can't see how you would not be. It doesn't even matter. I mean, obviously, I know she's a Republican. I mean, I might not agree with this woman on a lot of things, but man, I was impressed. Impressed by how she handled the questions, even though there was that school marmish thing that popped up every once in a while. But I loved it because it was, again, that power she had. She was just I don't know that I've ever seen such a brilliant job. And I was happy when, after it was done, some, blah, 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 one of these bloviator special experts on legal stuff, when he was reacting to her pronouncement, said if he were grading that as a press conference or as a whatever it was, he said that's an A+. I mean, it was just perfect. And it was perfect. So, very impressed by her. If she is the one that's an impressive woman. If I were a juror and she was telling me what happened that night, I'd believe it. Whatever she said, I'd say, I absolutely believe it. She's forceful as hell. So I hope she's actually the one who's going to be trying the case, I would hope. And that I'm unclear about. After she did her thing, the parents of this murdered child were heard from, as well as their attorneys and Al Sharpton, who's been very much part and parcel of the effort to make this a national story. And there was a lot of good stuff said there, and I must say I was every bit as impressed by this dead child's parents as I was by the prosecutor. What incredibly strong and good people. And clearly their Christian faith is, they hold closely. And it is their Christian faith that obviously sustains them. And when religion does that for somebody, I envy them. I envy them that faith that can give them comfort and direction. Extraordinarily remarkable people. And it only makes me crazier that their son is dead, because my guess is that these two people, that the sense that we heard about Trayvon Martin was that he was a good kid. These were two good people, his mom and his dad. You can see that. All right, so I'm taking my sweater vest off because it can't really be like Santorum's were V-necks, right? V-necks, and they didn't open. I mean, it was it was like no, it wasn't even a Mr. Rogers. No. Mr. Rogers is a cardigan. So I cannot, oops, hair on boob. Okay, got it. So, sorry to overreact, Gigi. But those are some of my thoughts on that. Zimmerman will be arraigned today. His attorney says he's scared out of his mind, as well he should be, and I don't care. the legal aspects of this are going to be fascinating because the law, unfortunately, that law in Florida is a high hurdle for the prosecution to get over. As I said, that law, as far as I can tell, it says that anyone with an itchy trigger finger in Florida who feels threatened can, no matter where they are, driving in their car, looking out a window and seeing a black kid in a hoodie, they feel threatened. Well, there are people who will maintain that, that you can shoot the kid then. I mean, that's why he wasn't charged initially. I want to point out that the Reverend Sharpton flat out said that he apologized, I believe, to the special prosecutor Angela Corey and even to the very conservative Republican governor of Florida, because he said he didn't believe that governor would appoint a truly capable person to the special prosecutor position. He had little faith in these folks to seek justice for this murdered child. And he acknowledged that at the very, very beginning of his statement, which I thought was very interesting. And it was like a mea culpa. I jumped to conclusions based on my, beliefs and or prejudices. And I want to say I was mistaken, because he too was blown away by her presentation. So I think there was an awful lot here to provoke thought, indeed. The media are likening this to the hottest criminal trial since OJ, and I mean, they're doing that because OJ's trial was a goldmine for them. It almost single-handedly created the cable news stations and the 24/7 aspect of them and all these shows that we now, think have been around forever. It was a godsend to cable television and to news media in general, right? It made news clearly entertainment programming. That's now maybe, my chronology is not correct and we could think of something else that did that as well, but that was just the acme. And so for cable news, CNN, MSNBC, to be doing the Trayvon Martin case, and again, here I say this child has lost his identity totally, are pumping and pumping and pumping it and telling us that this is like OJ. This is like OJ. They're hoping it's like OJ. But of course it's not like OJ, if you ask me. I don't know. What's like OJ? OJ was OJ because he was a celebrity. He was a football hero, a movie star, handsome man. Everybody thought he was, wonderful. And then what? He what? Trayvon Martin was not a celebrity. He was a kid. It's like OJ in that there's a racial element. And I guess that's what they mean. There's a racial element. But there's not a lot different in the Trayvon Martin case from cases that happen all the time. I mean, OJ was like a unique, very unique thing. Black kids getting gunned down for no good reason is hardly an unusual thing. So the media is going to make me very angry before this thing is over. I'll tell you that right now. I know they're already starting to make me angry. doubling back on this story, but back to Pitt and what's going on there. I don't know if you saw this, but a junior at Pitt named Joshua Kiley was sitting in his econ class in David Lawrence Hall Tuesday afternoon when all of a sudden a bunch of police officers came into the classroom and asked him to step outside. Joshua Kiley is 22 years old. He lives in Lawrenceville, and he was wearing a hoodie. He was wearing a hoodie, and someone had reported him to the Pitt police as a suspicious character. So 4 police officers show up at his econ class, pull him out in the hall, asked him questions, and of course said, "Okay, fine, goodbye," and he went back into his class. But Kiley said that when they finished their interrogation of his sartorial choices of the day, the cops asked him to please not wear his hood up in class when the campus was in a state of heightened security. Hoodie! Who knew? See, I mean, I didn't know because my kid has lived in hoodies, I think I've said this before, for the last 6-7 years. He's probably got, I'm embarrassed to say this, like there's 10 in his closet. I mean, it's like, I got my gray hoodie, my black hoodie, I got my brown hoodie, I got my this hoodie and that hoodie. And he sits at home wearing his hood up sometimes. I mean, I don't know why. It looks stupid to me too, but I can just imagine. Can you imagine? So when I hear people say that a kid with his hoodie on is just by nature frightening looking or suspicious or threatening, I mean, give me a break. Oh, and then you take the hoodie and add to it saggy pants. Oh, well, you obviously have a murderer on your hands. You either have a murderer or my kid. So just be forewarned, if you're heading anywhere near Oakland and the Pitt campus, don't wear a hoodie. Okay, geez. I got to take a break. I got a ton to talk about, including this man who has been taken into custody at the airport and held by police for making threats to Pitt professors by email. Now, this is interesting stuff. Is this the guy? He's 65 years old, for God's sake. However, since he's been in custody, there have been more bomb threats. But this now suggests a copycat-ish piling on of the initial bomb threats, because it's fascinating. God, there are a lot of people out there who are nuts. They're nuts, and they're on the bus with you. They're sitting next to you at the restaurant. They're sitting next to you in class. And I guess when things can get odd, they can get odder. And poor Pitt. I mean, they are a nut magnet right now, and it's a real tangled problem, clearly. Okie doke, let's take a quick break and return momentarily.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Sewickley Med Spa is Pittsburgh's newest med spa, offering the latest in skincare treatments and medical-grade skincare products. Their providers have years of experience with aesthetic treatments and technologies such as Botox, Restylance, Juvederm, chemical peels, Retin-A, and spider vein treatments. They offer a discreet, personalized environment with only the best quality proven services and products. Call them today for a free consultation. 412-259-8628. The Sewickley Med Spa. 412-259-8628.
This is the sound of a brand new outdoor grill being hurled off a 20-story building. Now a stylish glass coffee table. An electric guitar. These are the things you could enjoy, all cast into oblivion. Because when you throw away money on wasted electricity, you throw away everything you could have bought with it. Visit EnergySavers.gov and get tips on how to save energy and money. Then do things like switch to Energy Star light bulbs or Energy Star appliances, and you could save hundreds of dollars a year. So this doesn't happen to the recliner you've had your eye on, or this to the treadmill on your wish list, or this to the shiny new bike your kid's been asking for. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn at pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
Oh, yeah. So, University of Pittsburgh police, aided by county police officers, arrested a 65-year-old man from Croton-on-Hudson, New York, at the airport yesterday afternoon, I believe. And he was charged. This guy's name is Mark Lee Krangle. He's 65 years old. He was charged with one count each of making terroristic threats and harassment by communication. Now, obviously, those two charges are the kinds of charges that would be leveled at whoever's been phoning in bomb threats as well. So it's fascinating. Police say that he was emailing professors, 4 specifically, and threatening them and referencing the bomb threats and also referencing the shooting at Western Psych. And the police believe that the guy they arrested believes that he is using, I think they think he's piggybacking on this to draw attention to his problem with Pitt. The complaint did not elaborate on the whole whatever it is that he's upset about. And as I said, his arrest did not stop the bomb threats. There have been, I think, at least 4 or 5 since he was taken into custody yesterday. But if you haven't read this is a guy who been writing emails to 4 professors, and he has included, I have to page something together here. He had written a book, this Krangle character, called Revolution or Extinction. And apparently he believes there was some cover-up of some sort in the administration of Jimmy Carter. And in one of his emails, he said that he planned to come to Pittsburgh, quote, for as long as it takes to get my story covered by the local and national press. he also said to these professors, if you guys do not show me supportiveness in every possible way that your meager little academic fantasy world lives can muster, your graves will be defiled by enraged citizens in the future after you die. This is a madman writing, right? This is a madman writing. And he also said to these professors, you are involved. What? We don't know. And don't try to do anything that may involve Western psych when I get to town. I am not violent or crazy, and that's why Schick was put into play. Things would get much worse if you try to derail me. Support me or perish. All right, well, he's in custody. That's one lunatic in custody, Lee Krangle of New York State, who's got some kind of an issue at Pitt, but he's not the guy. But clearly he's been excited by the Western Psych shooting and the bomb threats, and they must have then engendered his attempt to piggyback on them for his own cause. Wow. As I said, Pitt is in the unfortunate position of just being a nut magnet now. The U.S. Attorney here has said that investigators are making significant progress, and they do have some potential suspects in their sights. And David Hickton, who is the U.S. Attorney here, has asked the students and faculty and anybody at Pitt to continue to provide any information with authorities, because he said it has been helpful. With the exception, of course, obviously, of whoever called the cops on that poor Kylie character from Lawrenceville who had the misfortune of wearing a hoodie in class. But so I guess there's some progress. Who the heck knows? But quite clearly, the perp or perps have not been taken into custody. Speaking of nuts, let's head over to the U.S. Congress, specifically, and to one of the members thereof sent to the U.S. Congress by the brilliant citizens of the state of Florida. Congressman Allen West. Now, I might be mistaken, but I believe Mr. West is the only black Republican in the entire Congress. Is that correct? I believe so. If anyone can come up with any other black person in the Congress who is a Republican, Lynn at PGH City Paper, let me know. I think he's the only one. Which, of course, says something, but we'll leave it at that. I mean, it might say something about him. It might say something about the Republican Party. It might say something about racial relations in America. But Allen West, yes, is, I believe, and he's been mentioned by a number of people, including, of course, the brilliant Sarah Palin, as a potential running mate to Mitt Romney. So Romney gets his conservative bona fides in up a little bit. Allen West said, I believe 2 nights ago at an event when he was taking questions from people, one of the questions he was asked was about, get this, Marxists in the American legislature. Apparently the questioner, first of all, did not know that we call that the Congress. And heaven knows what he thought a Marxist was. But he asked Congressman West if there were, and apparently some people in the audience started like laughing or groaning or booing because the question is, of course, stupid. And West shut the audience up. He said, no, that's a good question. And then he says this, I believe there are about 78 to 81 members of the Democratic Party that are members of the Communist Party. Now, first of all, I was struck by a number of things in that. First of all, I don't think he said Democrat Party, which is pretty amazing right there. It's the first time a Republican in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years has actually called the party I belong to by its proper name, the Democratic Party. And then, of course, he suggested that 78 to 81, interesting numbers there, Democrats in the Congress, the American legislature, are commies and actually card-carrying members of the Communist Party. Well, you know, you can't even... What's most amazing is he has not backed down. His spokesman said he stands by his comments. The fact that he was saying, are there any Marxists in their American legislature, Congressman? And he says, well, yep, there is. I'd say about 78, 81. And I'm thinking, where did he pull those numbers out of a hat? I found out later that he didn't pull them out of a hat exactly. He was thinking of a particular caucus of Democrats that includes some of the most liberal Democrats. And a liberal Democrat to Congressman West is clearly synonymous with a card-carrying member of the Communist Party. God. So his spokesman said, look, call them what you want. Marxists, capitalists, Democrat. They're clearly people who oppose capitalism and free markets and individual economic freedom. So, if the shoe fits. And so, this again is the dumbing down of the American people promulgated by the Republican Party, which is to erase any distinction between the categories of Democrat, Socialist, Communist, Marxist. It's all the same to them. It's one of their demon words. And so if you equate Democrat with communist long enough, there's people who literally think of them as one and the same. It's the big lie technique that the Nazis taught us. You know, if you're going to tell a lie, tell a big lie, because the audacity of the lie will give it credibility. And the repetition of the audacious lie, believe it or not, will hold. So you can take a good soldier like a John Kerry, and you can literally, through repetition and the big lie, turn him into what? A traitor, practically. A coward. It's depressing, guys. It's depressing. So anyway, there's Representative West channeling Joe McCarthy. He's got a list, apparently, 78 to 81 commies. He's also parroting a bit Michelle Bachmann. Remember, she actually said that she thought there should be an investigation of members of Congress because she felt some were clearly commies as well. You can't make these Republicans up. You cannot. I had the opportunity late last night of being in a eating and drinking establishment, seated next to a wealthy, pompous Republican who was arguing with me about global warming. When I realized his politics, and he seemed like, an educated person, I said, well, surely you're not going to tell me that climate change is not real. And yep, he was. And off he went. And I'm thinking, how do millions of people literally give over their critical faculties, surrender them so that they can comfortably create a reality that they can, I guess, tolerate to live in. Beyond belief. Beyond belief. Ooh. Okay. I think I better take a break. But when we come back, I read the paper pretty closely, and I just want to prove how closely by telling you that two of the most interesting things I found in the paper, in the Post-Gazette today, were both in the corrections column. I mean, they're really, I think, fascinating, and I want to know more on both accounts. So stay tuned for some very interesting corrections after this.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Pittsburgh City Paper's in-depth election coverage is available now. Pick up one today for Bill Maher, Capelia, Doug Sneed, and Tigers Be Still. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com. Go to bergbargains.com for great deals on tickets to the ballet, opera, City Theater, Science Center, Symphony, History Museum, and the Carnegie Museums. bergbargains.com, Pittsburgh's only online deal site where the deals don't expire. bergbargains.com.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Geez, that was quick. Okay. Corrections. Here's a correction from page 1, apparently yesterday. Oh, yeah. It says here Governor Tom Corbett was misquoted in a story Wednesday about Act 13, the state's Marcellus Shale Law. The governor said he was unfamiliar with litigation. Now, litigation is clearly the word that was missing or something. They said the governor was unfamiliar with a provision in the law, and I guess that's not true. He was unfamiliar with litigation regarding part of the law. But listen to the part of the law that he was unfamiliar about litigation about this part. This is a provision in the Marcellus Shale Law that would prevent doctors from disclosing certain chemicals used in hydraulic fracturing that they learned about in treatment of their patients. I read that over a few times. I thought, what? So, part of the Marcellus Shale Law actually says that doctors... Now, I was trying to think, how would a doctor find out about a chemical? So maybe you would have a worker for one of the fracking who became ill, and the doctor, in doing maybe tests, found a certain chemical or something in his patient's blood, and maybe thought, how the hell did you get that in your body? And then further questioning, the guy says, well, I work at blah, blah, blah. And can anybody else come up with another scenario of why would a law dealing with extracting gas from underneath our feet have a requirement about doctors not being able, doctors being gagged? Doctors being gagged if they find out somehow through a patient about chemicals. So clearly what? That means that, okay, say a doctor finds out, oh my God, they're using, that's horribly, and a doctor might want to blow the whistle. Is that what they're saying? You can't? It prevents doctors. I just have to read this over and over again because I can't believe what I'm reading. The fact that there's litigation about it is heartening, but a law, part of the law prevents doctors from disclosing certain chemicals used in hydraulic fracturing that the doctors would have learned about in treatment of their patients. Now, I got to tell you again, these Republicans who make a point of saying they want government out of our lives seem very hell-bent on putting government in between us and our doctors. And I mean, that is about as private a relationship as you can have. What is it about our private relationships they can't tolerate? I was telling you the other day about this unbelievable law in Arizona. And then there's another, this law is all over the place. States are doing it all over the place, in which doctors will be held to be, what's the word when you cannot sue a doctor? They will be absolutely free and clear if they withhold information from a patient about the state of the patient's pregnancy. In other words, if a doctor doing an ultrasound on a pregnant woman finds out that the child she is carrying is very, in trouble, is not going to have a normal existence, might be in pain, might be horribly whatever, he gets to not tell her. And that, of course, is so she won't abort. But how dare the government tell a doctor you can't tell your patient about her own body? And then if she has this child and she can't deal with this child and the pain and agony of this child's birth is such that she were to sue this doctor for not having told her, she's got no standing at all. And here in Pennsylvania, we're telling doctors, hey, so if treating a patient, you find out something about our special stew here what chemicals we're using, you are prohibited from disclosing that. I'm dumbfounded. I'm sick to death about it. I think these Republicans are out of their, I think they're out of their minds. And they're out of their minds and into our bodies, and they've elbowed their way into the examining room when you're there with your doctor. They've, God knows, women have had them up our you-know-whats for a long time. It's despicable. They're looking in your windows. They're in bed with you. But they're in favor of small government and personal freedom. Okay, the other correction that I found fascinating is Titanic survivor Violet Jessup jumped from a lifeboat and suffered a concussion after another ship she was on, the Britannic, struck a mine during World War I. A review of the book Titanic Tragedy incorrectly said the incident occurred during the Titanic disaster. Okay, so here we have a woman, Violet Jessup, who survived the Titanic and then survived survived a torpedoing of another ship she was on, in which she jumped into that, and suffered a concussion. Okay, so here's all I want to say is, man, if that information were known back in the day, and you were to get on a boat, and you saw Violet Jessup walking your way, would you, get the hell off that boat so fast you couldn't see straight? I mean, lightning doesn't strike twice. This woman, every time she got on a boat in the Atlantic, the boat goes down. Violet Jessup, ladies and gentlemen. Fascinating. So isn't that good stuff? And that's the corrections. Oh. By the way, for those of you wondering whatever happened to Tom Sokolowski, I'm wondering too. Actually, he'll be back next Thursday. He's taken a little bit of a hiatus, I believe we call them. So there's a picture in the paper of a sort of an aerial view of UPMC's latest baby. And that is this humongous hospital that they have built in Monroeville. A stone's throw away from a pre-existing hospital known as Forbes Regional, which is run by UPMC's arch nemesis, West Penn Allegheny. Now, if you're ever on the Parkway East driving toward Monroeville and you get off at the Monroeville exit right before you hit the turnpike, used to be, you would see, the Palace Inn, I think. There was and a car dealership. Now, you get off there, and there's this huge edifice. And there's a picture of it from the air. It's nearing completion of construction. And I just want to say that it's an outrage. I can hardly I can't stand it. There is no reason whatsoever that would have to do with the public health in the siting of that hospital where it is. These are the same guys, UPMC, who tore down one of their hospitals that was serving an underserved population in Braddock, right? And then, it ain't far from Monroeville to Braddock, they put up this unbelievably new state-of-the-art hospital where there already is a hospital. But they want to push that hospital out. So this is just ugly marketplace competitiveness. Okay, you say, fine, that's what this country's all about. But this is one of the reasons our health care costs are so high. Any sensible person putting together a map of where hospitals would be situated to serve the public's interest in health would never put these two things together. It's called redundancy. Hello?
Hi, Lynn. How you doing?
I'm
Floyd
doing
from Braddock.
Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, I was just going to say, how can you possibly get a second opinion if you only have one hospital? And I'm going to let you go with that.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. How do you even get an opinion if you don't have any hospital? Yeah, how do you get a second opinion? Well, no, obviously you're at their mercy in many ways. And so there's a whole article here about hospitals, which I want to underscore that the hospitals in question here are not supposedly profit-making enterprises. They are nonprofits. And for nonprofits to be behaving like rapacious for-profit corporations, I mean, obviously puts the lie to their designation. as a nonprofit. There are so many things in our so-called reality that make no sense at all. Make no sense at all, and that's one of them. The UPMC is a nonprofit. Have some... Okay, Jim writes, breaking news. If a person visits a psychologist for delusional thoughts, the said psychologist is not allowed to disclose any statements the patient has made that were garnered from Fox News. Okay, that will be a law shortly. Perhaps so. And one more. Colette writes, Lynn, I think the reason that doctors in the law cannot say anything about chemicals that they might find out about is that some of these fracking chemicals are proprietary. Well, yes, supposedly. I thought, though, that federal law or something has now said that they do have to release the recipes. I thought that is something that the EPA has insisted on. God knows Pennsylvania wouldn't, but I think... so maybe that's why it's under litigation, because the state law cannot supersede the federal law. Or maybe that's why it's under litigation. So if a doctor comes upon some chemicals that have sickened a patient and then were to broadcast the fact, that doctor would be in trouble. On the other hand, in the state of Arizona, a doctor who does not tell a woman that she is carrying a child that will die within 3 days after birth in an excruciating and a horrible death, that doctor is indemnified against any legal action that may be taken by her. The world has gone mad today, and good's bad today, and right's wrong today, and day's night today. And most guys today that women prize today are just silly gigolos. So, though I'm not a great romancer, I know that you're bound to answer when I propose. Anything goes. Ladies and gentlemen, the great George Gershwin. I think. Is that Gershwin? I believe it is. Anyway, oh my God, am I done? I'm done. I am so done, and I didn't get to give a high five to some very brave, wonderful students at Wilkinsburg High School who are demonstrating for more difficult classes, for advanced placement classes, for a chance to have a future. And that draws attention, of course. By the way, just one other thing about the wonderful Corbett administration in here. The kids at Wilkinsburg High did have, until this year, access to the Community College of Allegheny County. They could enroll in classes there when they were, bright kids could enroll there because their school, unlike Alderdice or unlike, Mount Lebanon, couldn't offer them these classes. So they could enroll at CCAC, no problem. They can't anymore. The kids in Wilkinsburg, they're screwed. Why can't they? That worked okay. Oh, I'm sorry. CCAC can't let them anymore because of state budget cuts. Screw the kids in Wilkinsburg. It's another kind of violence perpetrated on black males in this country. I'm done. Toodaloo.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.